Chapter 9. Brutal Consequences. In the sanctuary of the now secure shuttle, Watcher 2 delved into the contents of the disk with unwavering focus. Each file was scrutinized meticulously, her brow furrowing in concentration as she unraveled the intricate web of data it contained. Beside her, Aaron sank into the seat, the toll of the past 48 hours evident in every weary line etched upon his face. Fatigue weighed heavily upon him, a relentless burden threatening to overwhelm his battered body. With a heavy sigh, he leaned against the back of his chair, seeking momentary respite from the unyielding exhaustion. "That's invaluable intel, Agent," Watcher acknowledged in a formal tone, though a hint of satisfaction lingered in her voice. "There's more in the encrypted folder. I managed to decrypt it just enough to download," Aaron murmured. "The level of encryption suggests something significant." He blinked, attempting to shake off his weariness. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at the display Watcher was studying, straining to focus through his blurring vision. "Republic Superweapon Initiative," Watcher whispered to herself as she browsed through the data. "They worked in secret. The rest didn't know," Aaron mumbled, his ability to form coherent sentences waning. He desperately tried to strain his eyesight, which was getting more and more blurry with each passing moment. He blinked again, feeling his strength fading. As he tried to lean in for a closer look at the flickering display, he slumped against Watcher 2's shoulder. Pain shot through his body with each movement. Initially absorbed in her task, Watcher 2 was slow to register Aaron's sudden deterioration. She knew he had faced the Jedi, knew he was injured, but the severity of his condition became apparent just now as he sagged against her. "Agent," she began, her voice tinged with concern as she gently shook him, attempting to rouse him. "Agent, are you all right?" Aaron managed a weak nod, his words barely audible now as he struggled to stay conscious. "Just tired," he mumbled, his voice strained with exhaustion. Yet, it was evident that his condition was worsening rapidly. Watcher 2's concern deepened, her mind racing with calculations and contingencies, even as she grappled with the visceral fear of losing her operative. She immediately set aside the datapad and focused all her attention on Aaron. Summoning one of the pilots, she issued urgent instructions. "Inform the medical team on Dromund Kaas that we will need a Kolto tank ready upon our arrival." Turning her attention back to Aaron, she fought to keep him awake, her fingers gently tapping his cheek in a desperate bid to stave off the encroaching darkness. "Stay with me, Agent," she implored, her voice a steady anchor amidst the tumult of uncertainty. "Help is on the way. Just hold on a little longer." Her concern deepened as she felt the warmth emanating from Aaron's feverish forehead. The realization dawned on her that his condition was more serious than mere exhaustion. How had she missed his deteriorating state earlier? The data. She had been so focused on the data that she didn't even notice. Besides, he had seemed to be fine, hadn't he? For the first time in her life, she mentally cursed her oversight. With a furrowed brow, she maintained her composure, her mind racing to assess the severity of his injuries. With care, she reached out, observing the torn fabric of his distinctive outfit, likely some form of camouflage, and ran her hand gently over his shoulder. Her fingers traced the outline of the healed wound, indicating that while significant, it was not the primary cause of his current condition. "Agent, are there any additional injuries I should know about?" she inquired. Aaron's muttered response shook her. "Spine," he managed to mutter quietly, the word laden with an urgency that pierced through the haze of his fatigue. "Where exactly?" she pressed. "Lumbar," Aaron whispered weakly. Watcher's heart sank at the implication. Damage to the lumbar vertebrae carried grave consequences, particularly in the context of Aaron's line of work. The lower back region housed crucial nerve pathways that regulated motor function and sensation in the lower extremities. Any compromise to this delicate network could result in partial or complete paralysis, rendering Aaron unable to carry out his duties as an Imperial agent. But beyond the immediate implications for his mission, Watcher knew that such an injury posed a significant threat to Aaron's overall well-being. Chronic pain, loss of mobility, and potential long-term complications loomed ominously on the horizon, casting a shadow over his future. "Can you feel any numbness in your legs?" Watcher asked, her voice tinged with concern. "No, just pain." Aaron gritted out through clenched teeth, his voice strained with the intensity of his suffering. Suppressing a surge of panic, Watcher tried to focus. Aaron must have remained conscious until they reached the medical facilities on Dromund Kaas. She adjusted his position with practiced efficiency, ensuring that he remained as comfortable as possible given the circumstances. "Agent, listen to me," she said, her voice firm yet tinged with empathy. "We're going to get you the help you need, but I need you to stay conscious. Can you do that for me?" Aaron nodded weakly, his eyelids heavy with exhaustion. "Yes," he murmured, his voice barely audible above the hum of the shuttle's engines. Watcher nodded, her gaze unwavering as she monitored his vital signs. As the shuttle touched down on Dromund Kaas, Watcher sprang into action, her focus unwavering as she coordinated Aaron's transfer with the waiting medical team. Aaron tried to stay conscious as long as he could, but just before landing, his body gave up completely. The chief doctor, who was waiting on their arrival with a team of medics, wasted no time, immediately inquiring about the patient's condition. "He has a wound from the lightsaber on his left arm and damage to the vertebrae in the lumbar region," Watcher informed him tersely, her voice laced with urgency. "That's the extent of the known injuries. He fell unconscious just before landing." The doctor nodded, issuing swift orders to his assistants as they carefully loaded Aaron onto a stretcher. Watcher moved to follow them, intent on accompanying Aaron to the clinic, but the insistent chime of her holocall halted her in her tracks. With a quick glance towards the medical team, Watcher acknowledged their departure, and before answering the call, she instructed, "If he dies, there will be severe consequences. Do you understand?" The chief doctor nodded with a serious facial expression. He understood too well. As Watcher followed the retreating medics with her eyes, she answered the holocall. It was Keeper. "Report!" Keeper's voice echoed through the holographic transmission. Watcher wasted no time, her tone clipped as she delivered her assessment. "Agent obtained information. Their content exceeds everything we expected." Keeper's expression remained stoic, his response curt. "Agent status?" There was a short pause. "Critical," Watcher replied, her voice betraying a hint of frustration. "He is being transported to the clinic now." "Bring the intel to headquarters," Keeper commanded, his tone leaving no room for argument. Watcher clenched her fist involuntarily at the impersonal nature of Keeper's directives. For a fleeting moment, she felt a surge of anger at his callous disregard for Aaron's well-being. It was a stark reminder of the ruthless calculus of their profession, where agents were little more than expendable assets in service to the greater cause. Grimacing, Watcher closed the holocall, her fingers trembling slightly with suppressed emotion, a new experience for her. With a determined stride, she set off towards headquarters, the weight of her responsibilities pressing heavily upon her shoulders. As she navigated the labyrinthine corridors, a tumult of emotions roiled within her. The rigid confines of duty clashed with the burgeoning feelings of concern and responsibility that had taken root in her heart. Aaron wasn't just another agent, he was her agent, and his precarious state weighed heavily on her conscience. With each step, Watcher found herself grappling with the dissonance between her professional obligations and the burgeoning sense of attachment she felt towards Aaron. It was a sensation both unfamiliar and unsettling, a departure from the detached efficiency that had long defined her approach to her work. Keeper's directive still echoed in her mind, a stark reminder of the cold pragmatism that governed their operations. To him, Aaron was merely a pawn on a chessboard, expendable in pursuit of the Empire's objectives. But for Watcher, he was more than that. He was a colleague, a comrade in arms, and, inexplicably, someone she found herself growing increasingly attached to.